So good morning guys, a small change before we start. We are moving all content to English. We are moving the channel to English so that I can reach the maximum number of people out there in terms of the content that I am producing, so that we can keep doing this with maximum support from you guys. A lot of people can enjoy the value of what I am creating here. So yeah, I hope you guys have grabbed your coffee, grabbed your tea. Welcome to my weekly tech recap. Hope you enjoy. Let's start. Okay, so Microsoft and OpenAI may have actually finally broken up. Okay, so Microsoft was a huge investor in OpenAI from the very beginning, and Microsoft benefited a lot from that. Their Azure cloud platform was growing significantly because it had exclusive access to OpenAI models, and they were the first ones to use it. They used the models for their own Copilot apps. They had the intellectual property rights. Also, they got a share of revenue from whatever OpenAI was making, all because of their investments in OpenAI from a very early starting point. They are actually the major investors in OpenAI, but that relationship has broken up. So as per the latest joint statement written by OpenAI as well as Microsoft, they have announced that the exclusivity partnership will be going away. So basically, OpenAI models will now appear in other cloud platforms, and actually within 24 hours, AWS announced partnerships with OpenAI that their Bedrock AI platform in Amazon's AWS service will be having OpenAI models featured. But the agreement still states that the first person to get all the new models would be still Microsoft, but OpenAI is free to give their models away to other cloud platform providers. Also, OpenAI will be sharing some of its revenue until 2032 or something, capped to a certain level, but still sharing some revenue to Microsoft, while Microsoft won't have to share their revenue with OpenAI. So this is how their deal has evolved, and it's kind of good for both of them, because Microsoft has benefited a lot from OpenAI, but they need to focus on their own foundational models. They need to develop their own foundational models and can't depend on OpenAI for all the time. And from the perspective of OpenAI, they are going under in terms of revenue. They're not getting what they should be getting, especially compared to Anthropic. And for growing in revenue, they need to be present in most platforms, and especially in AWS, because most businesses are in AWS. And if OpenAI is not there, that's a huge amount of revenue that they're missing out on. So this, I think, is a win-win situation for both of them, and a deal that happened around the right time. Next one, the Chinese government has blocked the deal of Mark Zuckerberg's Meta trying to acquire Manus AI. So Manus AI is a company which focuses on developing autonomous AI agents. So these are the AI agents that actually plan tasks independently and try to do it without any human intervention, and they got pretty famous for their product. And Manus is actually a company which is registered in Singapore, but a lot of their algorithms and technology was developed in Beijing and has a huge amount of roots in China. And this is why the Chinese government intervened and specifically stopped the deal. Actually, they asked all Chinese companies to stop taking huge investments from US companies, US tech firms, in an effort to protect their IP, protect their algorithms. And this shows how ferociously China will protect whatever they have developed. And this is also a firm response to various US actions on China. So basically, the United States have blocked Nvidia from selling high-end AI chips to China, and also their whole ByteDance acquisition thing. So the Chinese government is replying strong. They're trying to block all investments of US tech firms. They are trying to block all major innovations being leaked to the US government, and this is an example for that. But the loser here is, of course, Meta, because they are trying significantly hard to build something in the AI space. They don't have something big to show off, and they're trying everything. They're trying to acquire companies, they're trying to acquire talent, but nothing has come out so far. So you need to see how this failure of the Manus AI purchase finally trickles down into Meta's AI efforts. Yeah. Okay, so something funny happened this week. Amazon, Meta, and a few other companies actually went to the payments body of India, and they complained about how big PhonePe and how big Google Pay is, and they want some room so that they can also compete. So imagine this: Amazon UPI, Amazon Pay, Flipkart's own Super Money, and WhatsApp Pay are trying literally everything, including cashbacks, and literally embedding themselves right next to where you type your messages, and still can't seem to compete with Google Pay and PhonePe. So actually, PhonePe holds 700 million active users in the country, and they are present in almost 98% of the country's postal codes, and 50 million total registered merchants. So it is a huge number. They actually, Google Pay and Phone Pay combined owned 80% of India's UPI transaction. So that is a huge number, and that is kind of a duopoly. So these guys are actually approaching the payments body and asking them to do something about this heavy duopoly and try make room for competition. So they're bringing up a few things. They're bringing up how these companies are acquiring users, how they're using user data, how they're using various monetization practices in their app, how you're designing their apps, stuff like that are being said, are being brought up. But yeah, they do want some help from the government so that these guys can compete with PhonePe and Google Pay. And it's very curious that these guys, being big tech companies having monopolies of themselves, are still asking the government to find a way so that they can compete against other monopolies. So that sounded pretty funny. Tell me what you think about this in the comment section. Either way, it is a good approach. I mean, if something happens, it is always good, because we don't want duopolies, we don't want monopolies, we want a healthy competitive area. So yeah, if something happens, I appreciate that. So Microsoft seems to be actually listening to what people are complaining about, because they just announced a huge number of changes coming to Windows labeled under the term K2. So by K2, Microsoft aims to improve Windows to a point where that its performance is comparable that to SteamOS. And I'm not sure how much of that is realistic, because SteamOS runs on Linux, but Microsoft aims to match the performance within 2 years. And the way they're targeting to do it is, what we guess, they're trying to remove a lot of the AI features that people actually don't use and have been just put at all the random places you could think of. And also Microsoft is planning to improve File Explorer, because all of those things have been hogging performance really bad, and also improving overall RAM usage system wide. So these are the main metrics that Microsoft is quoting, and even Satya Nadella actually commented about this, because he said that we are trying to win back users and user positive feedback. So that is kind of a good sign. And also Microsoft is apparently aiming to win back the entire gaming community, who they have also lost. And this closely matches with their recent Xbox CEO changes. The new CEO actually came and introduced the old logo back into Xbox again, and also she reduced the price of Game Pass, and also promised that exclusive games would actually be exclusive games rather than releasing in every other platform. So all of this seems to be pointing out in the right direction. The ship seems to be going in the right place, but we'll have to see how much of this actually ends up happening. But either way, it's a good initiative that you're actually listening to what people are complaining about. So let's hope for the best. Anthropic is supposed to go in IPO at the end of this year, and its valuation is said to be at $1 trillion. Now this is a crazy number, because $1 trillion is 1/4 the GDP of India, and this shows how big the AI bubble has become and how sensitive it is to probably crashing very soon, because $1 trillion is actually coming from the overall demand of their shares in the secondary markets. Now when investments happen, the primary funding rounds is where the real value of the company is determined, and that puts Anthropic total value at around $300-400 billion. But a $1 trillion expected IPO means that they're going more than 3x, and that actually comes from what is happening in the secondary market. So their shares are being outsold by their shareholders in these secondary markets, where their demand is very high. Anthropic's overall stock demand and the number of people who want to buy in are not matching up, and for that reason they're looking at an overall IPO around $1 trillion. Actually all AI companies are facing this. OpenAI is at around, I think, $800 billion, and we also have a SpaceX IPO expected to be nearly $2 trillion. So yes, these numbers are bonkers, and they're not at all a show of reality. This shows how much a company is worth and how big the valuation are. Will be at most cases very different in terms of where we are now with the AI bubble. So let's see what happens. $1 trillion is bonkers, man. Tell me what you guys think about this in the comments below. Yeah. So the Chinese government probably made one of the biggest rulings of the decade. So what happened was the Chinese government said that you cannot lay off people, slating AI as the reason. And this is very important, because this happened when an employee whose job was to review AI generated content was replaced by an AI tool, and he went into court asking for compensation. The court sided with him, and the company went into higher courts, but the rulings did not change. Now this is a very important AI based ruling. in the world at the moment, because a lot of companies are laying off people, slating AI as the reason. And what the Chinese government basically said, that such AI based automations are something that business actually plans and not something unexpected that comes up like a natural disaster. So just laying off employees because you plan to increase the overall efficiency of the company is not fair. And let's hope the rest of the world follows on this whole ruling, especially in India. So the Telangana Chief Minister actually recently in a speech proposed something called AI layoff tax, where he highlighted that the employees that are actually offsetted or displaced due to AI will be compensated by a tax to the government from the company. And this doesn't exactly line up with what the Chinese courts ruled, but let's hope that this evolves into something that actually gets our labor codes modified so that employees are actually protected when it comes to AI based displacement. So let's hope for the best. Eventually things are gonna come to every part of the world and including India. So let's hope the governments all in the world catch us up to this AI based layoffs here. So this week Sridhar Vembu posted a thread on X where he asked all Indian Americans who are settled in America to come back to India, because the American governments and all the problems there are not worth the risk, and wherever they end up in the world actually, whatever happens to them, whatever they do, whatever they accomplish, it is all going to be ultimately tied to the progress of India itself. And he asked people to come back to the country, and this post gained a lot of traction. And it is a very curious post, because his whole take was that the overall situation of how immigrants are treated in the US is actually getting worse, and India as a country is doing a lot of progress right now, and these people, all of them, have to be in the country so that we can make the maximum use of it. And this actually was closely followed by the US government, who also is planning to apparently pause all H1B visa applications that are being processed for as long as 3 years, and then maybe continuing it after that with stricter restrictions, which will be devastating for a lot of people in the US. I don't know how it will affect the people who are currently in the US, but then a lot of people who are going to the US would probably not be able to go, and they'll end up going to some other country or maybe stay back in India itself. But the post did gain a lot of traction about people chiming in, people giving their opinions. I do want to know what are the opinions of you guys about the whole thing, so do put that in the comment section below. But this is something that has been catching fire on Twitter in the past week. And the biggest news this week is actually the quarterly results of the big tech companies, and believe it or not, all of them are doing fantastically well, especially for Google, whose stock climbed 6% just because of their revenues were actually splendid. Their cloud revenue grew by around 63%. I think the cloud profits grew by 63%. The overall company grew by double digits. Same for Microsoft, same for Meta, same for Amazon, but their stocks actually dipped, and this was mainly because of the high amount of capital expenditure commitments in terms of data centers around the world. All of these companies actually beat expectations, but investor demands are very high that even by beating expectations of Wall Street, these companies are not able to make their stock go up just because of their outstanding AI investments and pending commitments in terms of spending. So yeah, that's actually a thing. But also something else, Meta recently overcame Google in terms of the world's biggest advertising company. So Meta's primary growth is actually not from cloud business, because they don't do cloud. Their advertising revenue increased because their cost per ad was actually increased, and this made them the biggest ad revenue or ad company in the world. And this shows that actually in all of this war situations and all of this AI bubble, the big tech are doing very well. They're just showing double-digit growth in all kinds of areas. Their cloud, their consumer-facing businesses, all of them are growing very well. And let's hope all of these benefits trickle down to us consumers also in the near future. So guys, thank you for watching this video. I hope you like the content, and if you're a regular viewer, I hope you like the translation to English. Do drop your comments, do drop your opinions about whatever you think of my content. I'll be posting all of this as short form content, so you guys can follow me from there. You guys can share that content there. I want you guys to share and show your support as much as possible, and of course subscribe, because I want to do this regularly, and without your support I can't do that. I want to bring you guys the best tech news as fast as possible. So yeah, again, thank you for watching. I hope you like the content. I'll see you next week. Take care.